Hi, everybody. Today we've got Trump back in office now, 1 year into his second term. So we're going to take a look at his approval ratings and see where he's at. We've got a lot of data to get through, so let's get started. So it's been a full 365 days now of Trump 2.0. A lot of you are going to absolutely love it. A lot of you are going to absolutely hate it. So without getting into the specific issues, let's just take a look at the overall numbers. What about Trump's approval rating? Well, let's start here on Real Clear Politics. This goes up to the 18th, but in the aggregate, he's underwater by 12.6. He's at 42.5 approved, 55.1 disapprove. So weak numbers, but not the worst there for Trump. However, he is going to want to get those up a few points headed into these midterms. Now, as always with all these polls, there's going to be a lot of range. Some of these are more Trump friendly. We've got RMG Research has Trump underwater by only 3%. Then there's two of them that have him underwater by 19, including this one from CNN. So let's take a look at the entire timeline here. Trump started off with a bit of a honeymoon period. He was actually above water for a couple of months, but now it's clearly been in the red ever since March, and he's close to his least popular as of right now. Now that's bound to help the Democrats in the midterms, even though their favorability ratings are also really low. They're clearly turning out in some of these special elections. So there's at least an enthusiasm problem here for the Republicans. But let's go down here. This also includes Trump's first term. There he was basically underwater the entire time. His lowest point was around here. He got down into the high 30s. Now, at the very end of his term, this is going to be a similar low point for Trump. Then the 4 years in between his term, he was all over the place. But he managed to pull together right around his re-election. But now it's headed off in the other direction. So he's not at his lowest point ever, but he's going to want to be careful. So this is what Real Clear Politics has to say, but it's always good to take a look at multiple sources. So here's Nate Silver. Here Trump is at 55.2% disapprove, 42.1 approve. It's not that different from Real Clear Politics. And here's the net approval rating. So less than 2 months in, Trump has been underwater. For more data, we've got Decision Desk. Here he's at 42.8% approve, 55% disapprove. Again, on par with the other aggregates. There's so many polls out there, but sometimes it's good to scroll down and take a look at some of the individual ones. There's going to be bigger and smaller sample sizes, better pollsters, worse pollsters, internal polls. That's why you're always going to want to take a look at it in the aggregate. Now let's get on to civics. This goes back to the beginning of Trump's second term. And we've got over 80,000 responses here. He's at 40% approve, 56 disapprove. And in this, there wasn't really a honeymoon period here for Trump. He was underwater the entire time. Now, you can always look at the different demographics, but let's click on independents. That's a key group. Now, in Trump's first term, this mostly correlated with his overall approval. This time, it's a little bit worse. He's at 35% approve, 57 disapprove. So it's not going to be a great sign for Trump if he's underwater with independents by this much. The biggest issue, like it is almost every time in any election, is going to be the economy. So back on Real Clear Politics, just on the economy, Trump is underwater by 15.3. He's at 40.8% approved. So that is not a good number. And during Trump's first term, it was much, much better. The economy was one of his strengths. And he also got blown out in the midterms. This is one of the big things that hurt Biden and the Dems when they were in power. Perception is everything. And if the overall sentiment on the economy is bleak, voters are going to take it out on whoever is in power. There could be some positive metrics out there, just like there might have been for the Dems. Inflation, cost of living, that's the big thing. Some people might also point to the tariffs. If the Dems were in there, I don't know if they could really do much better. They were in there and it didn't work out. So everything could just be shifting back and forth every 2 or 4 years because nobody's going to ever be satisfied with the economy again. Who knows? Now, just to underscore the economy, here we've got the direction of country. Only 37.5% say we're headed in the right direction. 57% say we're on the wrong track, and that's in the aggregate. So regardless of who's in office, if most voters think that we're going in the wrong direction, why would they continue to vote for them in big numbers? The other party is going to have an opening. And if we go down here and look at the overall timeline, to actually get this above water is not really a possibility. It got really close here back in 2009. It was dead even, but ever since then, it's been completely in the other direction. So this being underwater is not at all unique to Trump. It happened under Obama, Trump's first term, Biden, and it's happening again. It was much closer when Trump got back into office for a few months. But if you go back to 2018 during the last midterms, and that was a blue wave for the Dems, right direction was at about 35-36%. So not quite as low as it is right now, but it's getting close. Now what about with some of the demographics? Well, between men and women, Trump's approval rating is much higher with men, but it is still underwater with age. He's in the red in every age group. Under 30 is the lowest. 65 plus is going to be the highest. With race, again, he's underwater with everybody. White voters, it's the closest, just barely underwater. Black voters are way, way down, somewhere around 70%, although that's not extremely shocking. With education, post-grads think Trump is doing the worst. Some college is going to be his best, but again, still in the red. Now, if you want to compare Trump's approval rating to some recent presidents, well, first of all, compared to Joe Biden, Biden has been ahead of Trump the entire time, although over the past few months, at this point in the presidency, it's going to be pretty much dead even. But what about Trump 1 compared to Trump 2? Well, Trump's actually looking just a little bit better in his second term compared to his first. About 3 points here at the 1 year mark. Trump compared to Obama. Obama's going to be way higher for most of this. But even though Obama's approval rating was actually above water, he still got blown out himself in the midterms of 2010. That was that Tea Party wave. And for George W. Bush, not really a big point in checking this one out because he had to deal with 9/11. He got that huge popularity spike. It was completely off the charts. So where does that leave Trump at the 1 year mark? Well, there's a bunch of different aggregates here, and it's clear Trump is underwater by double digits. There's no other way to spin it. Dems have been doing great in the special elections, and even though they have terrible approval ratings themselves, they're clearly motivated to turn out. Republicans, not as much. The economy is going to be the biggest thing regardless of who's in power. Even if Trump has done some things that more voters might like, there's going to be some overreaches, and healthcare, that's another topic that the Dems are going to try to hit. And on the economy, no matter who's in power, they're always going to point to certain favorable metrics, but it might not match with what the public is feeling. We saw it under Biden. We might be seeing it again here under Trump. The most likely scenario here is Dems have a great night in the midterms. Then in 28, it's totally up for grabs. The Dems could potentially win. Then if they get back in there, then the Republicans are going to come back and start surging themselves because it seems like once one side gets into power, they do a few things people like, but then they have all these other things that voters don't like. Unless the economy actually turns around while one side is in there, or there's some kind of other national unifying event like 9/11, then it's going to be a bad thing to be in power. Even though that's what everybody craves, it just usually leads to lots of losses down ballot. I understand why people get highly burnt out on politics. I do it myself. But at the 1 year mark, it seemed like a great time to check in on Trump and see how he was doing on his approval rating. So let me know in the comments, how do you think Trump did during his first year back in office? Do you like at least one or two things and maybe dislike another couple? Or do you like it all or do you hate it all? What about these polls and how about the economy? What does Trump have to do to turn it around for the midterms? And can it be done? Let me know what you think down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.